Okay, so we've practiced a traditional sun salutation, and now we're going to take some time to break down some of the individual poses. So let's first work on the lunge. And you can grab blocks or books or something useful if you feel that you might need it for the lunge, and we'll see why in a minute. So if you have blocks, go ahead and grab them and place them on either side of your mat. So obviously you can come into lunge in different ways. Many times if we start out in a sun salutation, we're here in a forward fold. Then what we'll do is we'll plant our hands right next to our feet, and we'll step one foot back into a lunge. So there's a couple of things we want to think about in this lunge. Number one, I would like to have my knee directly over my ankle. And as per usual, we're pressing down solid through the foot, through the front foot, pressing down solid through the ball of my back foot. My back leg is straight. Now, if this is not available to you and you need to, or you'd like to rest and knee down, this is just called a low lunge. So this is a version as well, if for some reason the body doesn't want to keep the knee lifted. So when we're in our lunge, we have a couple of different options, but remember, asana being comfortable seat, how can we be comfortable in this lunge? So if I'm not using props, I will tent my fingers because my arms are just not long enough to hang out in this lunge. But if I have my blocks, I can plant my palms here, and then my arms reach down and I have plenty of space. And this way I can have a nice long line, my chest is open. So when we're in our lunge, we don't want to round down and hang down. We don't want to be arching in the back either. We want to be somewhere in the middle where we're in a nice long line. So I'm here in my lunge, I'm drawing my navel in, I'm extending that leg back, and my knee of the front leg is nice and solid. So the knee's not coming on the inside of the foot or on the outside of the foot. The knee is stacked directly on top of the ankle. Now, let's say flexibility doesn't allow you to step that far back into your lunge. So maybe you start with your blocks if you have them, or if not, you can use your hand on your thigh, and you step back into a lunge, and maybe it's just a shorter version. So if you find yourself at this shorter version, which is absolutely acceptable, if this is your comfortable seat, maybe you have your hands on some tall blocks, and you can still be in a nice long line, the chest is open, or maybe you prefer to just kind of sit up a little bit and have your hands on your thigh. This is completely acceptable too. The main thing we want to think about in our lunge, no matter what the shape of the body looks like, it's going to be different for everybody, is that the front knee is balanced over the ankle, that the knee is not moving side to side, and that the knee is not coming really far forward in front of the toes. There are occasional poses in yoga where we do have the knee really far forward, but typically the best place to err, and especially when we're just working on a standard lunge, is we want the knee somewhere around the ankle. And this helps to protect the knee. And if you're going to be lunging a lot, we do want to take care of these knees. We don't want to put any extra strain on them. That's why we like to, one of the reasons we like to stack our bones. And another thing to think about when you're in your lunge is to feel as though you're squeezing your legs towards the midline. So even though my legs aren't actually touching each other, I'm spread out in my lunge, I can feel as though I'm squeezing my inner thighs towards the midline. So that's another way to be able to hold yourself up in a lunge. So this is a lunge. Some people call this a low lunge. I call it a high lunge. And if you were to pop up and be in the standing version, this is typically called a crescent lunge. So lunge, crescent lunge. And it's a great way to practice. You can practice just being in a lunge and then stepping back and forth and just practicing on both sides. There you have it. On to the next one.